Hi, Instas. Welcome back. And if you're new, welcome too. I hope you're keeping safe and sound. By the way, you can book a reading with me if you want. Just check out the description below. And don't forget that Geminis get 50% off for my sun sign readings and also solar return reports. And that's all Gemini season. So please do subscribe as well if you like what I do. So the sun is transiting about halfway through its last week of Gemini season. And we're soon going to be graced by Cancer season proper. And I'm very excited because I'm a Cancer rising myself with a Cancer moon. Now, we've had some inklings of Cancerian energy with Mars going through Cancer earlier, and we still have Venus in Cancer. Venus in Cancer being the vibe, the beat, the flow collectively becomes more Cancerian. And so, yeah, our vibe has quite likely turned or started to turn toward those sort of Cancerian things already. All things familial and cozy. But when the sun hits Cancer, that's Cancer season proper. That's when we're going to get a reliable, constant 30-day solid season of Cancerian energy. And it's going to bring, this is going to be, by the way, from June 21st to July 23rd. And it's going to bring a whole month, as I said, of strong illuminations, as well of Cancerian themes. Now, Cancer season itself represents a huge cardinal washout. Ideally, it's a moment where any drags or dregs, even from the rat year or from the last astro year entirely, really do get sort of left behind as we enter the time of tides. This really is a time of tides. Cancer risings are the tellers of the tides. This moon ruled season will take us across a whole kaleidoscope of feelings and dynamics. It's cardinal energy. It's not just a water sign, it's cardinal water. So lots of dynamics as well, and moving, right, with those feelings, moving forward with those feelings. So it's quite a nice season, I think, in the overarching ox year energies as well, for anyone who is still trying to get into that like forward movement and to stick there for a good year, and also with Mars already in Leo, there's a very healthy mix or dose of pride and expressive power. And I really like the numerology as well of this July, with the sun at, I think, 9 degrees Cancer and the moon 6 degrees Aries. We get this like 69 coming together. That's very nice. And also this creates a cardinal square between Aries and Cancer that could offer us just the right kind of push or shove needed to shake something off, maybe those dregs I just mentioned, to, something we sort of let bug us, sort of like when you see like bulls or zebras or the kind of big hippos, whatever, big animals like that, which like use their tails. Horses, I think, do it as well, to like waft away or swat flies right behind them. So it's kind of that there could be this square tension introduced, where we just need to do a little bit more swatting away of things, people, situations, spaces, and then we can really enjoy Cancer season and Leo season, of course, which is beginning at the end of July, or the latter half of July. Now, I already do feel that July isn't going to go, swimmingly. We do have a lot, this big set of retrogrades in July, and Mercury will be direct again, actually, keen to have us act on actually the darker side of our fast changing moods and fancies. And it will, for many of us, be the start of a couple burdensome seasons, I think, when we're going to be like, because this is also quite typical, I think, of Cancer and Leo season, July, August, where we sometimes get ourselves into these ruts, forced fun type patterns. When you're hanging out with people you don't really want to be with, or you're slogging away at some work as well in this ox year, slogging away at some work you don't really need to do, but you're doing anyway. The moon right now, by the way, as I filmed this, is in Virgo, so a really important message that I want us all to keep in this Gemini season as the moon transits Virgo, perfect mercurial messaging coming through, and in a Mercury retrograde, is that we need to take special care that we're not trying to put our hands on too many things through the medium of help, through the medium of support, or through the medium of fixing. We want to make sure we're only giving advice or help when it's solicited, when it's actually needed, but especially when it's actually solicited. And we need to make sure that we don't create hate for ourselves or negative energy for ourselves from helping or trying to help a situation or a person or a space. So it's kind of a bit like keeping yourself being a bit clever, right, about how much you exert within your space or your sphere. But that's like a little side note. And then, yes, the overarching sort of ox energies there will almost certainly have us a little stuck in our relational ruts and those reliable, like habitual cycles. That's more of the Cancerian energies coming through. And this is a time when you can start eating loads as well, like eating loads of pastries, loads of carbs, not really thinking about it. With Mercury also being behind the sun at this time, there's anyway this sort of stubborn desire to consume things, especially things you consumed as a kid, or things that remind you of like home or family. These Cancerian things really coming through, and also with these retrogrades going on, there can be a revisiting actually of a certain type of individual or situation that was uncomfortable for you. It posed like a prickly question to you, and you're getting a reintroduction of that type of person or situation, and you're meant to get that because you're meant to be revisited by something which might be connected to the give and take of your own life, but also associated with even your generational or ancestral sort of baggages. So paying attention to those patterns as well, not just rolling the eyes and saying, oh, here we go again, here's another one. It's for some of us, these couple seasons, Cancer and Leo season, especially Cancer season, bring the necessary reintroduction of that prickly question at the picnic in the park, that kind of thing, from an individual, or a certain uncomfortable feeling you get at a party in a particular situation or set, right, of ingredients that come together to make you feel a certain way again. These are signs that we need to pay attention to for some reason, for some of us. There will be much more illumination on family too, of course. There always is, I think, for us in Cancer season especially, and Leo season. But clarity as well coming for some of us, and lots of familial rejoice is possible here at this time, and it is an ox in July, so a lot of us will be allowing family or familiar people to walk all over us a bit. I was thinking about this again this morning, how in the stories that I'm familiar with, at least in the Chinese zodiac, with the rat and then the ox, one of the things that makes these two animals, these two archetypes, quite important is not just the procession, but the fact that the rat sort of uses the ox to win the race. It sort of jumps on its back and then at the last minute jumps off over the finishing line. So the ox, as I've said before in a previous video, I think it does bring these energies, these people where we're going to be used, walked all over by someone or something, and we kind of know it, and we're kind of okay with it in some sense, especially for those of us who see it as just a part or just a cog of that moving forward, right? If it's not that big a deal, if it's not that big an obstacle to our movement, then we're going to be actually kind of okay with it. Taurus, if you're Taurus and you're listening, or you're Taurus heavy, you get what this is about anyway. You have Uranus in Taurus for a good few years to come, I think, like 3-4 years. And it's an ox year. Yeah, I think the Taurians they'll be getting a lot of the energies that are coming through right now. But yeah, knowing what is being done to you, but kind of in a darker way, not really caring about it as well. And yeah, it's kind of like a means to an end for some people. We just won't really mind some things happening to us, or some people being in our space, and we're quite forgiving as well. And I think it's a good time, you know, to play stupid all this year, not just July, but all this year. This kind of trick of playing stupid or being sort of simple. There is an art, a secret to being simple, that a lot of people, even in the spiritual communities, overlook, you know, the wisdom in the simple. And, you know, anyone who's in touch or wants to be in touch with their spirit guides, animals, ancestors, whatever you want to call it, whatever you resonate with, July, especially Cancer season, that first half of July will be when these connections, these messages are almost instantaneous. You can just look out of your window and see the particular sign, like blatant, unmistakable, the spit-in image of every other thing or person you ever, you know, could have trusted or relied on in your past. And again, it can go back to not just your past, but the ancestral or generational pasts inherited. And there's a way in which our pasts and our roots sort of sing to us in July. And quite early on, we'll be feeling proud of this. And, you know, Pride itself, the LGBTQIA+ festival protest, happens around this time of year in many parts of the world. And with this pandemic and the Saturn retrograde in Aquarius, we really are having to structure these familial things differently, overhaul even in some cases, where we can still, yes, celebrate and fight, but do it on like much more individual levels than perhaps ever before, more detached, alienated levels than before perhaps, and also in that more Saturnian, necessarily isolated and meditative way. You know, Pride might be better celebrated this year and fought for this July, even for some of us, through photographs or throwbacks, especially with all these retrogrades, and more sort of recollections of the community's memory, and more of a tracing of the progress that different groups have been able to make, as well as the progress that is still to be made. Which is why Pride isn't only a party or a celebration or fun. It is always also a fire and a force and a protest. And a remembering. That's really important as well. Right now, there's plenty time, I think, and space for going back to the drawing board as well, on how to deal with authority, Saturn retrograde in Aquarius. But we do have Mars in Leo, right? I've just made a video on that. You can check that out if you're interested. And we do start July with that Sun-Moon square. So again, a square is that aspect of contention, challenge, necessary sort of resistance sometimes. And so this can also be that darker experience for some of family and home being sort of torn apart, and with some very deep trenches being dug. You know, Cancer season can really usher in, if you're not careful, these new grudges, or like a, you know, when you dig something up again, that kind of thing can come up in Cancer season. And be careful, because it's an ox year, so that's going to like drag out the whole of the rest of the year. So yeah, digging these trenches, and some people will quite simply flip and take flight and settle into that type of new independent life, forced, you know, to put roots elsewhere, and to be very careful about it as well, because we're having Saturn retrograde in Aquarius. So there is this, it's kind of like a careful, there is still rebellion for some of us, a careful rebellion, a careful revisiting of the rule book, if you like. Of course, we also have to talk about the new and the full moons, and I'm going to be making, as I always do, separate videos on those, but just very briefly, the moon does figure even more prominently in the first half of this month of July. So we do, you know, Cancer season, so we do need to pay close attention to our feelings and what we're doing with them, you know, the actions we're taking with them, cardinal water, and also when we're letting them take us, because the moon, Cancer risings know this more than anyone, the moon moves through, right? You might know this, moves through a zodiac sign in tropical astrology, Hellenistic astrology. It moves through one sign in less than 3 days. And in that little window, you have that choice, subconsciously or consciously, you have that choice of, do I get taken by this particular wave that way or that way? It's like the Chariot in the traditional Rider-Waite Tower deck, that sort of imagery of the two sphinxes. It's like, do I go this way or that way? That's a choice that we have and live with constantly. But especially for everyone, it's much more accentuated in Cancer season. And so we do, yes, pay attention to where we're letting feelings take us. And it can, I think, so easily, so smoothly be a month of fun with family, friends, loved ones, and with ourselves as well. But it can also be a month of getting highly agitated and exhausted every few days. And, you know, sort of pulled this way and that way into dramas and battles. And we need to pay close attention to when we're starting to feel hot and bothered by someone or something, when we feel dirty as well, somehow spiritually, and to put ourselves first, and to remove ourselves from those energies, those waters, because July does have the potential to keep us in a deep rut that will last months more. Cancer, you know, Cancer energy wants us to fuse and to stick more intensely to an idea of give and take, what I always call give and take, even in negative relations. So you can get people who want to stay in these combative relationships or scenarios or dynamics. And Leo energy can make us relentless about this and heartless even about this, if we're trying especially to, if we're tying these relations to our inflated egos, or a sense of needing to be paid back or needing to be recognized. So you get the needing to care about something you don't really need to care about with Cancer, and then Leo comes in and it's like, yeah, and I also need the recognition. I need the audience. All of these quite unhelpful things can creep in, and quite quickly in this July Cancer Leo seasons. So Cancer season, yes, is the second cardinal checkpoint of the astral year. And, you know, Aries was the first one, and now we're coming into the second checkpoint. And it's easy during this time, I feel, for things to get out of hand or for us to be out of our depth. Yeah, so I was just recording and it cut. So I was saying, yes, it's easy for things to get out of hand or for us to be out of our depth if we haven't slowed down the way in which Gemini season makes us put our hands to everything. And I was thinking as it cut actually again about not wanting to help too much. So I think that's an important message for us. Try not to help too much right now, especially if you're watching this week, this day, the 16th. It could be a really important message. Try to know when your advice or your help or support is needed and when it isn't, and learn that Virgoan discernment. I think that's a really important scene of this Gemini season movie. But anyway, back to Cancer season, Leo season, and July. Things can get out of hand, out of our depth, if we haven't already slowed down the way in which Gemini season makes or made us put our hands to everything. And if we haven't also familiarized yet ourselves with the oxen pace that we need moving forward. And the Hinsters who know will know that I often associate Cancerian energy with the elephant, and this archetype of the elephant is perhaps even more profoundly felt this year or this Cancer season. You know, whether we are retracing old familial paths or forging brand new ones, or more likely we're doing a bit of both. We are also having to remember the primarily docile nature of the elephant, of our family, of our roots, of our home, our pasts. And we're growing as well, our thick skin, right? And some of us are also learning to live with the reality of leaving things behind, of finding new trails even. So it's not just about following old patterns and trails. For some of us, it is about forging brand new ones, perhaps because we are forced to. And that's a good thing, even for those people in the ox year, to find that new path and to begin forging it, and to really make that rut, to really dig that brand new tunnel. And that while this can be scary for those people, it can also bring out those people's adaptability and tenacity, all very all kind of things that are perfect examples of the mastery of that Gemini into Cancer sort of border. Not forgetting, right, that in July, Mercury will still be in Gemini. And I see a lot of us getting out of the mud as well, getting back on track. Taurus and Gemini seasons, for some, you know, they did create so much turmoil and hecticness, and some people's bodies, you know, literally rejected them time after time, you know, and that can be an experience. And now in July, in Cancer season, there's a sense of being fully flushed, for some people, flushed out or drained out, and sort of really ready, right? Really ready to embrace the shell that is left, right? In Cancer season, and later with Leo season as well, these people are getting their first sort of proper hard layer of a shell or shield. Cancer is opposite Capricorn. Of course, Cancer is very hard sort of energy. But it's also, as I mentioned, I think a few months back now, it's a forward-facing shield, you know, rat into the ox year. It's a forward-facing shield that's also transparent. It's transparent. The rat being able to see where it's going, but the ox actually, that engine, that sturdy engine that's actually going to be doing the movements and protecting, right, when necessary, or just being like a juggernaut. It's a metal ox here, so being like the juggernaut in the X-Men films and comics, right? Unstoppable. a force to be reckoned with. And I was thinking about this earlier as well today, like, you know, just how you can do anything with any one of the 12 zodiacal energies. You can do anything with any one of the 12 animal energies as well, which is more of a year-long overarching energy, right? But yes, the ox can also be for just juggernauting your way through things, and not caring about where you're going or who you're going into. And yes, you can be unstoppable for the good, bad, and or ugly. But I do think that for most of us, or I hope for most of us, this is bringing us out, especially those who had really awful, quite traumatic experiences in Taurus and Gemini seasons, that they're being brought out now of quite an active sort of darkness and into a more like soft and joyful sort of light. So anyway, let me know in the comments where you have Cancer and Leo in your birth chart, and check out also, if you can, the houses that those two signs are in for you. And let's discuss what sort of themes you might be experiencing this July. So with lots of love and well wishes. Bye-bye.